You've probably been told the story of the first Thanksgiving, but what if that story was never true? And the myth we grew up with was designed to make us feel unified, not to make us remember. For centuries, presidents used Thanksgiving as a tool to heal a divided nation, boost morale, even jumpstart the economy. And then in the late 1800s, schools rewrote the story completely, turning a 3-day survival feast into a national bedtime story about harmony. I've spent years exploring how the stories we repeat shape our collective energy, and this one might be the biggest distortion of all. In this episode, you'll uncover what the 1621 feast really was, how it was transformed into patriotic myth, and why reclaiming the truth can help you live and give thanks in deeper alignment today. The real first Thanksgiving wasn't even called that. In the fall of 1621, the surviving 50 or so English settlers at Plymouth celebrated their first successful harvest. They'd just come through a brutal winter where nearly half their community died. They shared a 3-day harvest celebration with about 90 Wampanoag men, part of a fragile peace alliance with the sachem or leader, Massasoit. There was venison, corn, fowl, and wild foods. No pies, no mashed potatoes, and definitely no stuffing. It was a meal of survival and diplomacy, not religion or gratitude, as we think of it now, at least. And the word Thanksgiving at that time, it meant a day of prayer and fasting, not feasting. Over the next 3 centuries, millions of colonists arrived from Europe. As they spread west, native nations were displaced, enslaved, and killed. Thanksgiving days were sometimes declared by colonial governors, but always for reasons like military victory or divine favor, not for harmony with Native Americans. By the 1800s, as the U.S. expanded across stolen land, the story of the first Thanksgiving began to emerge, not as history, but as myth-making. A comforting story for a young, diverse nation looking for shared roots. The first national Thanksgiving proclamation came from George Washington in 1789. It had nothing to do with the Pilgrims. It was about gratitude to God for the new Constitution and the survival of the Revolution. Washington's goal? To unify a fragile, divided new nation. He mentioned peace, liberty, and prosperity, but not Native peoples. Fast forward to 1863, the middle of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national annual holiday to bring peace, harmony, and union. But again, it wasn't about Native Americans. It was about healing a divided nation during a time of death and destruction. The irony? That same year, Lincoln approved the mass execution of 38 Dakota men, the largest in U.S. history. Gratitude was proclaimed as national medicine, while Indigenous suffering was silenced. Then came Franklin D. Roosevelt, who, in 1941, signed the bill making Thanksgiving a federal holiday, fixed on the 4th Thursday in November. His motivation? Economic morale. The country was crawling out of the Depression, and retailers wanted a longer holiday shopping season. Thanksgiving had now become a tool of unity and consumerism. So where did the Pilgrims and Indians sharing a peaceful feast story come from? It was invented in the late 1800s, when schools started using Thanksgiving to teach patriotism, unity, and gratitude. Children dressed up as pilgrims and Indians. Native children at the same time were being forced into boarding schools, stripped of their language and their culture. By the early 1900s, the story was everywhere. Textbooks, pageants, and eventually Norman Rockwell paintings. In fact, I remember practicing being a pilgrim or an Indian in elementary school. Thanksgiving became a national myth of innocence and abundance, a balm for a country wrestling with its own conscience. Since the 1970s, Native voices have been reclaiming the truth. The Wampanoags still live in Massachusetts and continue to teach their history of survival. Every year, Indigenous people and allies gather in Plymouth for the National Day of Mourning, honoring ancestors and resilience. And still, for many Americans, Thanksgiving remains a time for food, family, reflection, and football. What if both can exist? Gratitude as medicine? Yes, but only when it's honest gratitude. Gratitude that acknowledges the full story, the beauty and the brutality, and allowing healing to begin. This Thanksgiving, as you gather around the table, remember the stories we tell shape the healing we allow. May your gratitude include truth, remembrance, and connection. Stay curious, grounded, and gutsy enough to rewrite the stories that shape us.